Testing, testing, brief audio test. Testing, testing. For the love of God, testing. Alright, that actually sounds... That sounds like I don't have any audio. Gosh darn it. Here we go. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Breakout Racing League Xbox One Tier 1 today at the Sochi Autodrome in Russia. It's looking to be an excellent race today with plenty of contenders, 18-car grid, and everyone is a full-time driver. No reserves needed here at the top level where everyone is taking things pretty darn seriously. Just a reminder, in Tier 1, no assists are allowed whatsoever, not even the racing line. And with that, we're going to get right into this short qualifying session, 18 minutes in length, and that'll be followed by a 50% length race. That's 27 laps here at Sochi, and it looks to be an easy soft to medium one-stop race today. The drivers will probably start on softs, come in around lap 10, and then go on to mediums until the end. The car you're looking at here in picture is the Renault of Aus Formula. Aus is currently 10th in the Drivers' Championship with a best result of 4th so far this season. He's done that twice, both at Hungary and Monza. And Tier 1 drivers return after a one-week Thanksgiving break. And we're ready to start the month of December off strong with the Russian Grand Prix. So we're going to use Aus Formula's first flying qualifying lap as an excuse to take a little tour around the Sochi Autodrome. Very early start-finish line here at this circuit. First DRS zone here. This is actually turn 1, just a very subtle right-hand kink that you don't really think about after the first lap. A very long pit straight, good opportunity to overtake. Now into turn 2, heavy braking zone. Usually third gear on the apex. Ooh, Aus took that very nicely. A bit of a lockup, but still not too bad. Turn 4, this is always flat out. Hug the inside as much as you can until you get here to turn 5. Fourth gear right-hander, difficult to avoid track extending, but he's gotten through there all right. And now into turn number 6, another slightly tighter right-hander, third gear this time instead of fourth. And then turn 7 and 8. Again, getting through there all right. Another fourth gear right-hander. Now a fourth gear left-hander, or a fifth gear left-hander rather. How exciting. That's turns 9 and 10. And now into number 11, on to the back straight here. This is usually third or fourth gear, as Aus shows. And this is the second of 2 DRS zones on the track, the back straight. Another great overtaking opportunity for these guys during the race. Big, tricky braking zone into turn 12. But he's gotten to slow down all right. Through 13 now, tricky left-hander. You kind of have to thread the needle with the racing line. And now 14 and 15. In the third sector, that's really where the only elevation change on the track is. And then into 16 and 17, a couple of 90-degree right-handers. Oh, very squirrely for Aus on the first one. But gets through 16 all right. And it's going to be a 1 minute 30.7. And I'm now joined in the booth by our other Tier 1 commentator, Rick James. Say hello, Rick, once you've included your audio.
Pleasure to be here, Flanders. Pleasure to catch the last 14 minutes of this qualifying session. Ginger Horizon leading with a 1:30.45. Aus Formula in the Renault now drops down to third. Master Berserk taking that second position with a 1:30.59. All dry so far throughout Sochi. Yellow flag in Sector 3, so cars will come to a slow crawl.
B-Dunk coming across the line now to finish his first flying lap, and it's P1 straight to the top. 1 minute 30.28. His teammate comes across the line to start a lap, Mari. So we'll see what Mari can do next time around, but plenty of people now setting times, and Hoopalicious goes P1 with an absolutely smashing lap, 1:30.1, but already that's beaten by BRL Pirani with a 1:30.0. The times are already coming in thick and fast, and I can barely keep up with them, Rick.
RBM Mary,
the favorite for pole here.
RBM Mary in that Papaya McLaren, where she used to be driving that Ferrari. Now she's back from Rosso Red into Papaya Orange on her outlap right there.
And
a couple
she
of
stopped
drivers
on the track. Oh wait, that's B-Dunk.
No, RBM Mary still continuing rather fine, about to go through the Olympic Park section, that very, very wide left-hander as she's just exited that. A lot of drivers still in the pits. Chandler Seta in that in one of the Alphas now leaving, And number 1 FinFan in one of the red Scuderia Ferraris still in the pits. FRA Vivid now leaving as well. So a lot of cars taking advantage of a hot track with 12 and counting in this qualifying session.
Yeah, BRL Neymar just finished up a flying lap, but it looks like he invalidated because he's still shown as having no time whatever on the board. But we are going to switch back to RBM Mari now in the McLaren as they're just going through the final 2 corners, and it's already invalidated. So it looks like they'll go into the pits now, get on a fresh set of tires, and try again next time. Russia can be a fairly tricky one with the track limits. I mentioned turn 5, a tricky exit to track extend on. Really a lot of these mid-speed left and right-handers that Sochi is so famously infamous for are really easy to track extend on. You know, if you just get a little bit loose, a little bit too enthusiastic on the throttle, very easy to wiggle wide. FinFan having no regard for track limits on his outlap, but that is perfectly fine since it is in fact an outlap. Deer Hunter on a slow lap. Doesn't look like anyone is on a flyer right now, but Pirandi leads the timing sheets as expected with 130.0. Followed by Hoopalicious, New Zealand Ryan, B-Dunk, and Ginger Horizon rounding out the top 5 so far. Meanfern has the slowest time with a 131.7, but I'm guessing that'll change pretty soon as he's going to go out for another attempt. New Zealand Ryan actually, no, he's not in a lap, he's coming in pits. Neymar, though, he's coming up to the line now. Looks like he's finishing his second lap on the softs, and look at that, it's a 130.9, and that's good enough for 9th place in the Haas. Ferrari approaching the line as well. That's FRA Vivid about to start a lap. Unfortunately, one of the Ferrari drivers, that being DRC Jared, is not with us today. He's decided to take a break from the league. If you weren't here for that news earlier on. But it looks like a lot of people either about to start or are already in the early stages of their laps now. GSR Axe has invalidated his lap going down the back straight.
BRL Pirandi
Chandler
still at the top with a 130 flat. The only driver so far to get under 130.
Purple Sector 1 though, hold on. Purple for sector for Chandler Seta in the Alfa Romeo. We could have a new P1 here if Chandler can keep it together, looking very on the edge but still controlled through turn number 8. Now 9 and 10 again, very on the edge but also controlled. Wearing what appears to be a Sebastian Vettel tribute helmet, looking very similar with those German colors going vertically down the visor. Now thundering down the back straight with the DRS open. And purple middle sector as well for Chandler, so it looks like he's hooking up an extremely good lap here. We're going to ride on board with the sector. Decent time getting the power down. Taking 14 and 15 smooth like butter. He's not phased at all by the mild elevation change in those two. 16, this is where our first lap of the day, Formula really messed up. But he's keeping it clean, and it's going to be P1. That's the 129 lap that we've been really looking for. That's the kind of pace people will need for pole at this level. And there it is, 129.7.
That's the first sub-30 lap now coming down that front stretch. Chandler Seta in the number 14 Alpha now taking provisional pole with 9:09 and counting. Pirandi on an outlap one more time, so the Renault is going to be doing their best to take that. So far, it's Alpha, Renault, Red Bull, top 3. However, Ryan, now in the number 97 Merc, on his outlap. A lot of drivers by my count. Flanders, we've got 6-7 drivers on the route laps about to put in a blistering time. 129.72, the current time to beat.
Yeah, and it looks like everyone is on a flare right now is invalidated. Ham Newton, FinFan, Mari, Axe, among others. Williams is just starting his lap. As you mentioned, plenty of people on outlaps about to clock in. Ooh, Williams really pushing the track limits at the exit of turn 2. I thought that was going to end a lot more badly than it did. Turn 3, sorry. A lot of these corner numbers are quite hard to keep track of at Russia. Looks like 2 racing points, nose to tail. That seems worryingly close for 2 cars to be together like that on track. Williams is in front of Deer Hunter coming through the middle sector, but gotta wonder, is Deer Hunter going to get any of that dirty air off the back of Williams' car? Is he close enough to really feel that?
Deer Hunter on the outlap in that racing point behind one of his teammates, now coming around that 90-degree right-hander, just passing the Olympic section, and currently 1:31.05, his fastest time, but he's on an outlap, as are two other drivers. Neymar with a 1:30.90 currently on the outlap, and getting into 7:30 to go in this qualifying session. Ryan still in the fourth position, despite being towards the front in some previous races, although Chandler Seta with less than 7:20 left, the only driver to be sub 1:30 in this section.
Yeah, it looks like there's a bit of a traffic jam in the final two corners, two racing points. McLaren's, one of the Alfa Romeos I see. They're all bundled up. Some of them are coming into the pits. Some of them are trying to start laps. That's all a matter of communication between the drivers, and that can be pretty hard when you're trying to focus on setting the perfect lap. Let's see who's coming up to the line now. Master Berserk is going to be the next one, but he's into the pits because his lap was invalidated. After that, it's a Haas. Looks like Neymar, he's on an outlap, so nothing too special to see there yet. But New Zealand Ryan will be the next car to finish a flying lap. He's just coming through the middle sector right now, down the back straight. ERS open, hot lap mode on the ERS activated, and it looks like he's going to get a purple middle sector. Yes, he does. The championship leader looking for pole position here. Bit of a lock-up into turn 12, but he manages to get it slowed down. Through 13, taking a bit more curb on the outside than you'd like, but going a teeny bit wide at 14. Oh, and he goes wide and invalidates the lap on the exit of 15. That was a very scruffy third sector from Ryan, and he hasn't actually decided to pull into the pit lane. Maybe he has enough fuel left to attempt another lap back-to-back.
Now less than 6 minutes remaining, and the Kiwi into the black Mercedes taking off down the line. He sits in fourth, looking for that all-important pole position with less than 6 to go. Flanders, he's probably going to have one, maybe two more attempts at the top spot, and now we have three drivers that have reached sub 1:30 times. Ferrandi with a 1:29.55 at the top. Chandler Seta.
Deer Hunter join that club. Nobody's going to join the 1:30 club. Deer Hunter up to 8th with 1:30.7.
Chandler.
Find him other setting times as well.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like we've got a Red Bull about to start a lap. That's Boss Cookie. Yeah, it's really congested track right now in some areas, and this could seriously hamper some people's laps. Oh, what did Chandler say to do there? Off the final corner, he just didn't get going.
A little too much power.
Run down the pit straight.
Out of that final corner, Chandler looks like he just put in a little bit of oversteer with the help of the gas pedal there, but now on a flying lap once again, and that's going to hinder so much speed, given that that front straight is is probably the second or first high-speed section on this racetrack.
Indeed, and New Zealand Ryan is looking like he's on in-lap, so we'll ignore him for now. But both AlphaTauris are currently on flyers. GSR, Axe, and Meanburn. Scratch that, Meanburn's coming into the pit lane now, but Axe is looking like he wants to set his first flying lap time of the session. Ooh, missing the apex of 14. Looks like he's really struggling to lug that car around the tighter sections of this track. But he's keeping it on the road, not invalidating like his last laps have been. Around the final corner, carrying a decent amount of speed, and it's going to be a 1:31.1. Second slowest time so far, but at least it is something to get him off the back of the grid. Ham Newton has invalidated his lap again. Doesn't seem like he's enjoying this track all too much. Meanwhile, FRA Vivid also on a flying lap, trying to improve from a somewhat dismal 1:31.2 time. But I suspect to do that. Let's see a split time in the middle sector. It's 3/10 down. He can shave 3/10 off this lap. That's going to put him ahead of at least Boss Cookie, if not Neymar, for 12th to 13th, generally in that region. But Boss Cookie improves up to a 1:30.7. So he sets the bar ever higher for anyone looking to get past him into the top 12 or 11. Now up to the penultimate corner comes FRA Vivid, looking good. How much more time has he gained in the third sector? We are about to find out. Car teleported around him, or at least it looked like it. He gains 3 more tenths in the third sector. What a lap. 1:30.6, and he shoots into the top 10. So not too bad from him at all.
3:15 now left in this qualifying session. Pirandi still sits at the top in that Renault. Chandler Seta second in the Alfa Romeo. Hupalicious sitting in third. The Kiwi Ryan in the pit, and we have certainly many more drivers out than in right now, with two drivers still yet to put up a time. Ham Newton sitting in the pits with just under 3 minutes to go, while number one Fin Fan is out on the track in the Alfa.
Indeed. B-Dunk in provisional fifth right now. He's the one I'm watching because he's about to start the flying lap time. He's certainly fast enough to put in a bid for pole position, but he's got to put together a damn near perfect lap.
B-Dunk sits fifth in that Papaya McLaren on his outlap right now, and you can see he's slow through the final double apex, trying to get the best start possible, and he's off out of that final corner headed towards the Olympic section. And look at him, he's fifth right now. This could be his second or his final attempt here, getting a bit of a tow from the Red Bull out of pit lane, and bravely sends it in. Look at the lockup on that right front, Flanders. He is going for it.
Indeed. Now round the flat out, turn 4, looking good so far. No real problems in this turn during qualifying. In the race when they're on more tires, matter from Bodelli goes wide at turn 5. That was just a plain old lockup, and that's going to ruin his lap. He's backed out of it quite a lot. Might be the commentator's curse, who knows, but yeah, that's going to be B-Dunk's last chance, it looks like, unless he has enough fuel to after this one without coming into the pit lane. But who else is going around the track right now? One of the Alfa Romeos is. That is Fin Fan. No, looks like he's on. Actually, Fin Fan's on a slow lap. He's in traffic right now, so it's going to be difficult for him to find space and get to the line.
Being sandwiched by both McLarens.
He hasn't put in a lap yet.
Probably.
Yeah, he hasn't put in a lap yet, so it's going to be difficult.
Either trying to get a tow from those McLarens down the back. We'll have to take a look. Chandler Seta now about to approach the final double apex section on his out lap. So this is going to be the final lap for Chandler and his final attempt to take pole. Meanwhile, Pirandi slow as well, coming through the last few corners as Pirandi heads towards the double apex squared section. That final bit there. He still sits on pole, Flanders, but when you're at the top, you are there to be shot at. Seta, Hupalicious, and the Kiwi Ryan all on outlaps.
Indeed, Chandler just starting his lap now, as well as number one Fin Fan. Hopefully he'll get the space to start a proper lap. Actually, he has, so it looks like he won't have to worry about that any longer. But we're looking at Chandler now coming into turn number 2, keeping it very solid. Oh no, we're riding on board with Fin Fan. Sorry, that's my mistake. Still though, looking very solid so far through turn number 4 and into 5. Not making the same mistake B-Dunk did, being a little less aggressive on the brakes, but it's worth it if you can just stay on the track. Again, ooh, bit of a wiggle on the exit of turn 6. Maybe got a bit exuberant on the throttle pedal. Or could be running a lower downforce setup. We'll see. 5th gear through turn 7. Very uncommon to see, if we're being honest. Ooh, bit of sausage curb at the apex of 8. That's not going to help him at all. Upper A Vivid is retired, meanwhile. Apparently he's happy with his lap. Fin Fan now onto the back straight, using all of the curbs and then some, but still staying within those all-important track limits. Is that the quali, says Nicolai Surda in chat. Yes, this is the quali. The race is still coming up in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. That is the really exciting part about league racing. The actual racing. Who would have guessed? The Fin Fan now coming into 14 and 15. It looks like he is going to get more than just a banker lap this time, but he did miss 14's apex as Axe now retires. Coming up to the penultimate corner, through, hits the apex smoothly like butter. Not quite so over the final corner, but still carried decent speed. It's a 130 flat. Would you look at that? Up to P4 from P17. An excellent showing from Fin Fan. What can Ham Newton do? This is his last chance to set a lap. He's going to spin. Ham Newton is spun in turn 14, it looks like, so he's going to start from the back in the Williams. Of course, starting from the back in the Williams is a pretty common sight, but still, Ham is capable of a lot more than that. Who else is coming up to the line? Deer Hunter looks to be finishing a flying lap. He's at the penultimate corner right now. I don't know what his middle sector split is, but we're about to find out what his final sector split is for the lap. And it's going to be an improvement of 0.3 up to P9, just behind his teammate Williams. So Racing Point's going to be nose to tail 8th and 9th. It looks like everyone has finished or retired now, and this is your final starting grid. BRL Pirandi snagging an absolutely blistering pole position lap. He'll be joined on the front row by Chandler Satan, and we'll go over the rest of it once the leaderboard pops back up. And we've got a new follower, Gastow15. Thank you very much for following the stream and supporting BRL. You are our 705th follower. We're getting up to absolutely astronomical numbers now, but here's the rest of your starting grid. Hoopalicious in the Red Bull is third behind Perandi and Chandler. And Finn Fan with his shock lap right at the end there. And then Ryan, Boss Cookie, B-Dunk, Williams, Deer Hunter, and Ginger Horizon rounding out the top 10. All of them are on the soft compound tires. No one trying the alternate strategy medium gamble. Everyone feeling just fine on the Redwalled boots. Mary is just outside the top 10, so they'll have free choice of tire. And Master Berserk, Vivid, Ost Formula, Neymar, Mean Fern, Axe, and Ham Newton will all have the same. Ham Newton, unfortunately, not being able to set a qualifying time.
Not sure what happened to Ham Newton in the Williams. He seemed to have a good run headed on his outlap into the penultimate corner, but he ran it wide, and it looks like the Renault of Perandi also had to check up heavily on his final hot lap. However, as it stands, Perandi will start first, and I'm excited to see how this run into turn 1 is going to send all these drivers.
Yeah, just a quick update while we're between quali and the race. On the current State of the Drivers' Championship, New Zealand Ryan leading by some margin right now, 300 points back to BRL Perandi, who's got 237 in second place, and third with 169, but he's only 6 points ahead of Hoopalicious at the moment, so that's a very tight battle to watch in today's race. Technically, Perandi is still within range where he can rally back and win the championship if Ryan has some bad luck, but it's not looking extremely likely, just an outside possibility to watch. This will be the time that the drivers take to settle in, pick their fuel loads, maybe make some last-minute setup tweaks on the front end of their cars, and, of course, try to guess at what everyone else is up to. I'm interested to see how the guys outside the top 10 approach tires, because there are a couple of different ways you can go at it. You can just start on the softs and bank on the possibility of your pace being enough to break into the points, or you could start on the mediums and try and run longer, get some clear air, and maybe do an overcut to get to the softs at the end. Not too much wiggle room for strategy at Russia, but certainly a bit more than there is at, say, Silverstone, where it really is just soft medium no matter what. But now we're cutting to the start of the formation lap. So let's see the tires everyone has on, and everyone outside the top 10 has opted for mediums except for RBM Mary in 11th and Ham Newton at the very back.
Ham Newton playing a different.
Very interesting.
Ham Newton playing a different strategy. Flanders, I was just noticing he's the only driver running those soft, so he must be thinking a short strategy. But these drivers in the mediums, for example, GSR Axe showed promise in qualifying, but he must be playing the long game as well. My point of view is I'm going to be looking at B-Dunk in 7th place on the soft tires in that McLaren. Halfway through the pack, Flanders, you can imagine that some drivers almost have the option whether or not they want to play the short game or the long game sitting on soft tires.
Yeah, that's very true, and I wonder, do you consider Ham to be out of position? He softs. If he has enough race pace, he could just scythe through 6 people ahead of him that are on the mediums in short succession, but it really all depends on if his qualifying was actually representative of where he should be on the grid in a normal race weekend. You see him as one of those guys that can really punch above his weight from 18th?
He's got absolutely nothing to lose, and I commend the bravery to get on those soft tires. However, he didn't really use a lot of that qualifying time to learn the track, so expect Ham Newton to be a bit aggressive in these opening laps, but tire management is going to be wildly important. So obviously the more aggressive that Newton runs the car, the more the fall off is going to affect him. So the leaders at the front certainly can afford to be a bit more conservative on those soft tires, but not Ham Newton. So a lot of things to watch as we get ready for lights out.
I'd have to disagree with that. The soft runners in the top 10 and really the top 11 as well, they do have to build up as much of a gap as possible to the medium runners behind them, because there are some real fast people who are running this strategy. Master Berserk and Ost Formula especially stick out to me as guys who could disrupt higher points positions if given the chance. So that's why the soft runners, they certainly need to build up as much of a gap as possible, because the soft tires that the medium runners get at the end will be a very real advantage for them. But BRL Perandi lining up at the front. on the grid at the end of this formation lap. Ham Newton's just pulling into the final slot. And we're going to get underway in just a moment or two. Waiting on the grid to see the red lights start to turn on. BRL Maverick is in the chat, one of our league owners. What's up, everyone? Let's start, so why don't you stick around and find out. Mateo in the chat predicting that Pirandi will win this one. Well, he's certainly in an excellent position to do it right now. This is a really long time between grid forming and lights out. Do we have a lobby glitch?
It looks like we have one of the Williams that's ghosted at the back. That could be Newton.
That's Ham, yeah.
It could be Newton. At the same time, there was a Sector 1 yellow flag rolling up to the lights as well. Out there, green flags are being waved on the side of the track, but no indication of the lights.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with this one. I think someone's connection is just holding everything up, and that might be Ham, considering what the game's doing to his car at the moment. This is a very odd situation. Big Harry Jock in the chat, one of our Tier 4 drivers, saying, "All right, boys." Well, I appreciate you agreeing with us that the boys should get going, but I'm not sure they can.
We might have had a glitch here. The race is showing lap 2 already. Not exactly sure what's going on.
I think our cameras might be glitched. It might be possible. I haven't actually seen this before myself, but the race could have started already, and our cameras might just not be registered.
Yeah, we may want to reload this lobby. That's a disappointment, but at least we haven't missed that much. They should be completing this lap in just a moment.
I don't know. I think the better solution would be to check in with Mean Fern real quick, one of the drivers in Discord, to see if they're actually going. And we're getting confirmation from Maverick now that we need a lobby restart. So my suspicion that the lobby is pretty glitched has proven true, it would seem. Yeah, don't go anywhere, viewers. We've still got a race on our hands. It's just looking like we have some technical difficulties going on. That is not that is not what's supposed to happen by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll be in the menu here, lying in wait for another invite. It shouldn't take too long to come. Checking in with the lobby host, BRO Williams. His gamer profile says he hasn't formed a new lobby yet, so that's going to be a moment. But again, everyone, please stay with us. The race will be up and running in a matter of minutes. Guess this would be a good time to run through the results of our last race real quick. 2 weeks ago, before our break, we had round 16, Singapore Grand Prix, partially sunny, partially rainy race. And your winner on that occasion was Chandler Seta in the Alfa Romeo. That put him ahead of Hoopalicious in the standings. Hoop still finished a respectable second place. And rounding out the podium on that occasion was BRO Williams, with Pirandi, B-Dunk, and New Zealand Ryan just missing out. The other point scorers at Singapore were FinFan in 8th, Master Berserk FinFan in 7th, Master Berserk in number 8. Os Formula P9 and Mean Fern rounded out the points-paying positions. All of those drivers are present in the race today, but all of them are experiencing the same technical difficulties that we are in the booth. Still monitoring if Williams has another lobby up. It looks like it. So, time to join off his profile. I'll invite you in a second, Rick.
Looking at the point standing here, Flanders, I'm noticing that Pirandi starting on pole with this 63-point gap up to the Kiwi Ryan. It seems like The light is starting to fade in that tunnel, but if there was ever a race that he could turn it around, this would be the one. Chandler Seda as well finds himself a great distance, 68 points back of second place. So with 6 rounds remaining, including this Russian Grand Prix, pressure is insanely high for everybody who's not New Zealand Ryan.
Yeah, that's definitely true, although I'd say no one else is really thinking about winning the championship at this point. They're just trying to keep racking up the wins, the podiums, seeing what they can do to justify staying in Tier 1 for next season. Of course, the lineup between this season and next, it's not going to stay the same. Some people have not attended races often enough to warrant staying for next season. Some simply have not had the pace. I will not name names on that. But people are filing back into the lobby now, as you can see. Maverick asking, how's everyone doing? I'm doing fine. Looks like the drivers are doing fine, because they're all filing back in now. But yeah, that was a very unusual thing to happen. I've actually never had that happen before, where the cars just simply never went. But the lap counter did start counting. So it's a very unusual one. Might be a new glitch that Codemasters included as a free gift in their recent patch. But either way, we are overcoming it, and again, we will be back up and running in just a moment. So do not go anywhere. HW Gons, or Hugons, I'm not sure quite how to pronounce your Twitch name, but either way, thank you very much for following the stream. We've now got 706 followers on board with the channel, and we appreciate each and every single one of them. Of course, not all of them tune into every stream, but it's still nice to see the support that we've been getting this season. Really is record-breaking stuff. Some of our streams have been peaking at over 60 viewers, which is absolutely insane. But now it looks like we've got all 18 drivers back in the lobby, and it also looks like Rick needs to hit the spectate button. There we go. Ham's the last one to come in. As soon as he takes the Williams, we'll be ready to go. We'll be using the grid editor at the moment to sort out who's starting where, because of course we're not going to redo the entire qualifying session. That went off without a hitch, so we'll simply be using the results from that, and it carries over into this new lobby. Looks like Chandler's actually the lobby host this time, rather than BRO Williams, the coordinator. But either way, we are going to get underway pretty soon here. I'm sure Williams is still pulling the strings behind the curtain. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the drivers to ready up, feel free to start up a conversation in Twitch chat. That's what our chat is for. And even if you'd like to talk with us, if you're into that sort of thing, we're here. We've got nothing better to do until the race starts. So if you've got any questions to ask about the league, or how to join, or how you can get involved in general, then go ahead and drop any questions you have about it in the Twitch chat. Doesn't look like anyone's having connectivity problems, although there are a couple of worrying red bars. But as long as we don't have any flashing black bars to indicate people's connections, I think we'll be just fine. Everyone's readying up now. Yep, even the host has, so we will be going back into the lobby now. And we're going to start the race, finally. It's about time we got underway. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going back to Narnia. I mean Russia. Either way. We're about to get underway for real this time. I suspect we'll be doing another formation lap, since that is the race settings we use. Jeb Motorsport, thank you for following the stream. 707 followers now on the channel. Isn't that absolutely excellent? Looks like we got a New Zealand Ryan fan in the chat with Jeb. Ryan starting from 5th place on the grid. Looks like he'll have a bit of work to do to try and get the win today, but considering his record so far this season, he's finished on the podium in all but 4 races so far. I certainly wouldn't bet against him. He's pretty fast himself. Brandi is, of course, 2nd in the driver's standings, and starting from pole today, he's looking to add to his total of 4 wins so far this season from Bahrain, Monaco, Austria, and Silverstone. All the drivers starting in the top 10 will be required to start the race on soft tires. So we have a rule about this. If there's a lobby restart, every driver in the top 10 must start on the same tires that they started on in quali in the previous lobby. Otherwise, they'll be heavily penalized and perhaps even disqualified, because that is a very serious offense to try and circumvent the rules through a glitch in the game. Again, the drivers around the grid, even though we can't actually see them yet. Until then, we have a very nice view of the Sochi pit lane. And in the background, you can faintly see an amusement park. A little roller coaster on the left side of your screen in the background. It's one of those little details in these games that some people take for granted. They're just so graphically advanced nowadays.
Despite being a host for the 2014 Winter Olympics, Sochi, actually being a temperate area, is a summer destination for many Russians and tourists alike. This Olympic...
Rick, your mic just cut out mid-sentence. Are you still there? Rick, your mic cut out there. Is your connection okay? Rick. Alright, looks like Rick's having some possible party connection issues, because I can't hear anything from him.
Landers, you got me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
There we go. There we go.
Good.
No, it was just...
Alright, formation lap again, as I predicted. Sorry, formation lap again, as I predicted. One thing to note, actually, look at Master Berserk. In 12th place, he's decided to switch from mediums to softs to start the race on. And I'm not too sure why. Maybe he thought he'd be vulnerable to a charge from Ham Newton at the back. But what's your take on that? If you're starting 12th in this situation, what kind of tire do you want? Do you want first lap pace or strategy later on?
Considering that I'm going to be in 12th, I want to make a strong run into this first corner, but it's going to be a long race, and there's not a lot of room considering the small, tight walls down these straights. Obviously not much room for error either. Not a lot of runoff areas at this Sochi Autodrome. So I would want the soft tires for grip, but I'm thinking long game. Master Berserk sitting on those red softs. Expect a lot of aggression from them.
Yeah, certainly. If you're starting on the mediums, you're definitely hanging back into a very chaotic turn 2 at this track. Of course, we saw in the race in real life, we had 2 retirements and a couple of other people with wing damage at the end of the first lap. And everyone here will be looking to avoid that fate. Especially the medium runners, since the medium runner strategy, of course, is all about them going deeper into the race. And if they get damage and they have to nurse that for the entire stint, that is not going to be fun at all. Butterburner saying, good luck, drivers. Indeed, good luck to all our competitors today. All of them put in decent efforts in qualifying, and they'll be hoping to replicate that in the race. Virtual Formula 1 League saying hello to you as well. ESO Wilsey saying, yo, is this NASCAR? No, this is the F1 2020 game, a league race on the Xbox One version. And it is going to be an absolute banger, as we're about to show. BRL Pirandi on pole position, lining up. And everyone from Pirandi all the way down to Ham Newton in the Williams at the back will now approach their grid slots and get ready to start up. A brief moment of tension before the lights. It's here. Looks like someone else is ghosted at the back this time. I think that's GSRX, but the lights are going on. No more lobby glitches here. 5 red lights. And we're off, and there's jump starts already. Williams and Deer Hunter, both the Racing Points have just jumped the start. Looks like a good start, though, from Pirandi. Chandler, not so much. He got an okay getaway, but Hopalicious is now peering around the outside of Chandler. We're going to ride on board with the Red Bull. He's side by side with him into turn number 2. What's going to happen here? Is he going to go around the outside? I think he's going to run out of room, but no, he sticks it. Hopalicious around the outside for second place on Chandler into turn 2. That was a very brave move indeed. Chandler third. FinFan still fourth from Ryan and B-Dunk, who are also going side by side. B-Dunk really aggressive on this first lap. He's already gotten past Boss Cookie, I believe it was. Riding on board with the McLaren driver as he pursues New Zealand Ryan. Ryan, of course, he's no slouch. He's one of the fastest controller players in the history of this series. And Ryan himself is trying to get past FinFan here. It looks like the Mercedes can just carry a bit more speed through apexes at the moment than the Alfa Romeo. Clattering the curve a bit in that corner, though. Meanwhile, further ahead, Pirandi, solidly out front so far, but how much ERS is Hopalicious willing to use to catch up to him? The answer is none of it. Looks like Hoop's going to save everything for a blitz down the front straight. Yellow flag in the middle sector. There's a Renault at the back. It's Oz Formula. And I have no idea what's happened to the teammate of our pole sitter and current leader, but it doesn't look like he has any damage. So he'll continue unchanged, I suspect. Meanwhile, Hopalicious is actually right on the back of Pirandi through turn 14 and 15. He was looking very close there. Still within half a second of the race-leading Renault. Chandler is sticking behind them. FinFan, though, has fallen back slightly behind Ryan, B-Dunk, and Boss Cookie. Not sure what's brought that about. He's struggling a little bit early on.
Sorry, Flanders, it was a little bit of contact 3 laps into this contest, and the Alpha has fallen behind. No apparent damage, and he still has a great tow headed into the first corner. A couple of slow cars there, and look at the McLaren and the Mercedes of Mary and Berserk just weave left and right. Berserk is right on the gearbox of Mary. Ham Newton picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so that 12th place Williams in trouble already. 3 cars in the pits.
And we've got 2 new followers on the stream. Make that 3. Virtual Formula 1 League, BSL Wilsey, and Velo Client 2 have all followed the stream just as the race begins, so I think that's a real endorsement of the quality of BRL League racing here. Master Berserk really locked up quite a lot there, and that's lost him some ground to Mary. Meanwhile, further out, B-Dunk still right on the back of New Zealand Ryan, and I mean back of him, right up the gearbox into turn number 10. That is very dicey indeed, but he's going to get the better run. Actually lap 2 into this race, not lap 3. That was a glitch on the timing sheets, and now B-Dunk is alongside the Mercedes. Actually, Ryan has an end plate missing. Hold on a minute. That's why he's pretty slow at this point. He's got a front wing end plate missing on the right-hand side. Not sure where that came from. I believe he was running behind FinFan. Maybe it was a collision between FinFan and Ryan that dropped the Alfa Romeo back on lap 1. Not too sure. There's a yellow flag. Looks like Oz Formula is involved in something again. No, FinFan's out. Hold on a minute. FinFan's out of the race. He's lost a wheel and all his front wing in turn 13. And it's a virtual safety car. Not sure what caused that. Looks like he maybe got a bit of oversteer on, but that's a pretty slow speed corner. He should have only been in 3rd or 4th gear at that point. GSR Axe immediately pitting onto the hard compound tires. It'll be a bit of a task to stretch those to the end of the race, but it is possible at this track. Sochi is a very low wear place. Real bad luck for FinFan. He'll come away from here with no points whatever, and Axe spins under virtual safety car. And Williams actually gets a penalty. 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. He's taking advantage of the VSC as well. They reduce pit stop times, as is Meanfern. Meanfern's going onto the hard tires. I suspect Williams will do the same. No, he's going on to mediums. Is he switching to a 2-stop? That's really the only plausible explanation. Mediums cannot make it 25 laps at this track.
I'm surprised he didn't go to the hards, Flanders. If you're going to go the long strategy, you want the white hard Pirelli compound.
Sorry, but the drive-through for Master Berserk, speeding under virtual safety car, he must have had that delta negative when the VSC ended there, and that's going to be huge because he has to serve that in the next 3 laps, and that's going to completely blunt his charge against Mary, in the McLaren. Go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say, well, now that Master Berserk has that penalty, it's going to be a long race strategy. I would change the tires here and consider going to the end, caning it on those white hard Pirellis. BRL Williams now with another penalty again coming out of the corner. It goes bad to worse for the racing points, but meanwhile, Flanders at the front. Pirandi's lead has now been cut from 1 second to 8/10. He is trying his hardest to get away from Hoopalicious in the Red Bull.
That's right, and further back, Ginger Horizon really attacking Boss Cookie for 6th place. It's really nose to tail right now between Beadon, Ryan, Boss Cookie, and Ginger Horizon. 4th place, it looks like Ryan is very much the cork in the bottle at this point, and Beadon's now pulling away. Let's ride on board with Boss Cookie as he tries to get ahead of the Mercedes. Looks like he'll be too far back because Ryan just getting DRS off the McLaren for the front straight, but locking up into turn 2, he's really struggling with that front wing damage at this point in time.
Through Olympic
Horizon, not quite within striking distance.
My apologies. Through Olympic 4, it doesn't look like it's such an issue through the high-speed corners, but in the slower stadium sections, as they're approaching 5, 6, 7, and 8, it's going to be a problem. And the Red Bull of Boss Cookie now under heavy pressure from Ginger Horizon, who's got another penalty. Flanders, penalties abound all over the racetrack. 4 drivers yet to serve.
Indeed, as I said in qualifying, track limits are quite difficult to manage at Russia, but Hoopalicious is now gaining ever more on BRL Pirandi. The gap's down to half a second, and he's got DRS down the back straightaway. I don't think he'll be close enough this time, but he definitely will be next time around when they get to the next DRS zone. Into turn 12, both of them keeping it very clean, but Hoopalicious gaining another 1/10 of a second, down to 4/10 now, down to 1/3 of a second, 3 and a bit tenths. Looks like Hoopalicious just has more confidence in these technical sections in sector number 3. And he's really gaining on the Renault. Into turn number 16. Lock up from Pirandi, forcing a mistake perhaps by Hoopalicious. Hoopalicious sets the fastest lap in the race to 134.1. He is going to get DRS as expected, riding on board with him for the straightaway. What's going to happen here? It looks like he's pretty far back. Pirandi is getting good exits off of those DRS corners, turns 17 and turn 10. And there's a VSC further back. What's happened this time?
4 cars lined up nose to tail. That
Neymar.
Is it? That's
Neymar's out of the race.
DNF, our second DNF today, 5 laps into this contest, Sochi.
And it's in the exact same place as FinFan crashed out. So a lot of guys getting loose on the exit of turn 13, just being a bit too exuberant on the throttle, maybe getting up on the curbs too much, and that's propelling them into the wall at a speed that you wouldn't think would lop a wheel off. But 2 more cars pitting, that's Deer Hunter and Master Berserk. Master Berserk taking it as a good opportunity to serve as drive-through, I believe. No, he's actually put on new tires, mediums in fact. Deer Hunter's also out of the pits, but onto the hard tires. Go to the end of the race. I would agree with you in that the hards are the better play if you're going to pit now. And 22 laps, it's pretty easy to go 22 laps on the hards, if we're being honest. 25 or 26 is a bit of a stretch, but 22 is manageable.
You mentioned the hard tire, and I believe one of the cars just leaving pit road, it was one of those Williams. So far, 5 drivers still yet to come down pit road to serve. Ham Newton showing that he's on, well, it was a glitch that was showing he was on the hards, but now the game's showing he's on the softs. However, Flanders, these drivers have to come down sooner rather than later. This penalty problem is only going to fester, and the lead from Pirandi has been cut down to less than 6/10.
Yeah, and the worst thing about track limits penalties is that you can't actually serve them in the pit lane. They stick with you through the entirety of the Grand Prix, and they get tacked onto your finishing time, and that can really be annoying when you've worked so hard to get up into maybe a podium position, only to have it snatched away from you because the guy behind you was just kinder to the track limits. Hoopalicious looking at Pirandi into turn 2, but he's a bit too far back. Pirandi seemingly doing a good job of managing his ERS and just deploying it in the most important areas. As I said, the 2 corners before the DRS straights are said important areas. Master Berserk immediately going on the attack against Williams. Medium runner versus medium runner. 2-stopper versus 2-stopper, it would seem. Looks like Master Berserk has the advantage going through Sector 3. Williams just staying ahead. That's for 14th place. Let's go back up to the battle for 5th place as Boss Cookie and Ginger Horizon continue to duke it out. They both dispatched of New Zealand Ryan, unsurprisingly. New Zealand Ryan's front wing damage. Ginger really hopping over turn 7 there. That's going to be a warning for track limits, I believe. Boss Cookie gets a time penalty, though. Multiple warnings. He goes really wide at turn 9 and swerves back onto the track. That's borderline dangerous, if we're being honest. Ham Newton getting a penalty now, and Ginger Horizon's going to have an excellent run at the Red Bull down the back straight, riding on board. He's gaining. Turn 12 is a difficult spot to overtake. Boss Cookie thinks about going defensive, but doesn't. Takes the corner normally. Lock up for Ginger Horizon. Arguably, that was 2 moves on the straight for Boss Cookie, because he went to the right before the braking zone thinking he had to go defensive, but then went back to the left to take the race. Not too sure about that one, but seemed pretty harmless at first. Mari, meanwhile, trying to catch up to Ryan. That'll be an easy pass if Mari can get close enough. Meanwhile, Ginger Horizon, looks like he'll have an even better opportunity down the pit straight. Got plenty of ERS to work with. Then there's a spin. It's Deer Hunter. Deer Hunter's out. We've already got 3 retirements in 7 laps. And it's another virtual safety car. And this time, by the looks of it, he's crashed it in turns 8 and 9 in the Olympic Park section just before the back straight.
Indeed, headed up to that 90-degree right-hander 11. It's a tight, slow area, Flanders. I'm assuming that coming out of 4 and 5, carrying so much speed and momentum through 6, the right kink 7, and into 8, drivers are almost fooled into missing those braking points. So with less than 21 laps to go, 3 drivers retired. It appears 7 are currently sitting on penalties at the moment. Pirandi re-extends his lead to over half a second over Hoopalicious, but now Chandler Seta in the Alpha starting to close the gap. We'll have to see where these drivers choose to put their cars after the VSC and see if anybody is interested in different tires given the slow start to this race.
And the VSC has ended, and I don't think anyone's really interested in pitting on that one because, well, just because where everyone was on the track, most people were just going past the pit lane, and Hoopalicious thinks about a move again into turn 12. That's the most serious attempt I've seen so far. He's really got the advantage of Pirandi at the moment with DRS. The question is that pace advantage real on Hoopalicious' part, or is it just caused by DRS? Because if it's just caused by DRS, then Pirandi's just going to keep the battle super tight if he gets overtaken.
Strategy
you're
about.
Right, Chandler.
Go ahead.
Chandler has caught by nearly a second during the course of this lap alone. Hoopalicious now locking up to the final corner. That might blunt his charge down the pit straight, but he's got plenty of battery to work with. At 100% after that VSC, saving up really well, but I think he's going to be too far back. The looks of it, he's gaining at a rate of knots, but he's got so much ground to gain before he can even get near him. Lock up from Pirandi, but he still makes the corner just fine. Chandler, meanwhile, can see both of them. You can see that they're sparring, and I don't think he needs any more motivation than that to get on with it. Meanwhile, Boss Cookie's been overtaken by Ginger Horizon. I think he was just down the last pit straight. So that's a change for P5. The Williams now ahead of the Red Bull as we're focusing on the battle for the lead. FRA Vivid further back, getting pretty close to Oz Formula. Currently a half second separating them. They're the only 2 cars that started on mediums and still haven't pitted for one reason or another. Weirdly enough.
One driver that just did pit. Mean Fern sits on 4 laps on the hard tire, but one driver that joins that hard tire gang after coming down pit road is NZL Ryan, and the Kiwi from New Zealand now on the medium tire, Flanders. So a very short-lived strategy on the soft for the Kiwi, but the black Mercedes now like a stabbed rat out of pit road. What can he do on these medium tires? Because we still have just under 20 laps to go. Do you think he's going to go the distance on these yellow Pirellis?
Absolutely not. They can't go any longer than 20 laps, and even that is really a stretch on these tires. He will make it. I guess he will make it to the end, but those tires are going to be absolutely screaming. They're going to be a fair bit old. They're going to be a fair bit older than what everyone else is going to be on, and that might blunt his charge. Plus, he's nearly a pit stop behind the next car ahead, FRA Vivid. So he's got a serious uphill battle to even get into the points. He's got clear air, but perhaps too much of it.
Indeed.
Chandler Seta now coming into the pits, onto the mediums. The pit window is now open at lap 9, but just barely. Chandler taking advantage of it. But I don't think he's going to get the same clear air as New Zealand Ryan's getting. Oh, no, he is. He's going to emerge quite a bit behind FRA Vivid. Hoopalicious, meanwhile, who knows what he might do. He could try the undercut here on BRL Pirandi. The traditional pit window that the game recommends for this track is lap 10. Lap 9, that makes lap 9 prime undercut territory. I gotta wonder what's going on behind the Red Bull driver's visor. What's he thinking? Well, we're about to find out at the end of this lap. Top 7, currently all sitting on the soft tire. There's a great job from Ham Newton to get as high up as he has. That could be a net P7 for him, if I'm being honest. Simply because, well, he's decently far ahead of some of the medium runners, and he's really latched onto the back of that soft pack that he's supposed to be a part of. So great job from him to just haul himself up the field after a dismal qualifying. Hoopalicious still not letting Pirandi go anywhere, but not quite making any serious moves as they're both going into the pit lane by the looks of it. Yes, they are. So both of them fearing the undercut from the other, perhaps. And they're both going to go into the pits one lap before the game would prefer them to. Same with B-Dunk. He's coming in. Ginger Horizon is staying out, and he's going to take the race lead and go to the normal pit window. Same with Boss Cookie. Same with Mary from the looks of it.
Flanders, do you suppose that Ryan on those medium tires is gambling on more virtual safety cars? Now the minority number of drivers sitting on the softs as they've yet to come down pit road, and almost every driver that has gotten fresh tires on their first stop has switched to the mediums, save for NZL Ryan, save for a couple of the drivers that have gone to the hard tires as well. You mentioned Ham Newton. He's now up to the 4th position on those softs. He did start towards the back. What's your perspective on Ham Newton? Do you think he'll stretch it to the distance or try and come in a bit sooner?
I think Ryan does have a realistic chance of stretching it to the end, but like I said, the wear is just going to be quite a bit worse than everyone else on the conventional strategy. So he'll have okay tires now, but he's going to be at a disadvantage in the closing stages. So I'm guessing he'll be doing more defending than attacking later. Meanwhile, let's see what's going on. Mary and Boss Cookie currently fighting over at second place, but not a net second place, as they both have yet to pit. Mary not looking to make any moves right now. I think she knows she just has to keep it together at this point. Pit in, go to their normal window, and get onto the mediums. It would be nice to enter the pits ahead of your closest rival, but it's not really mandatory. These two are unlikely to hold each other up in the box, considering how close together they are. Indeed, Boss Cookie peels off into the pits. Actually, Mary doesn't. Mary's going to stay out. Ginger Horizon's in as well, so RBM Mary is going to inherit the lead of the race. Really surprised anyone's taking the softs beyond lap 10. Mary seems to be the only person to do so. Actually, no, Ham Newton's staying out as well, so Newton gambling that the softs will stay together for just one more lap and getting slightly fresher mediums for the rest of the race. Could be a big advantage depending on how these drivers are able to use it. Hoopalicious, meanwhile, maintaining about the same gap to BRL Pirandi, but this time they're in 5th and 6th rather than 1st and 2nd. The gap between them and Chandler seems to have stabilized at between 1.5 and 2 seconds, so as you mentioned before, Rick Chandler is charging, but perhaps just not enough compared to the top two to really challenge them. Hoopalicious gaining slightly in turn 5. He seems to have more confidence in the mid-speed corners and the technical stuff. But then Pirandi's just able to claw it all back on the straights with superior ERS management.
Superior ERS management is going to be important, especially in the closing laps, given that these tires are going to wear further and further. Drivers have spread out a bit, so some of that early VSC calamity seems to have gone by the wayside. However, anything is possible just 11 laps into this contest. At the time of the pit stop cycle starting, Pirandi was about half a second ahead of Hoopalicious, as he is now, but Hoopalicious now cutting it down to just under 4/10 headed into the 16 and 17 left,
meanwhile,
right
further up
section.
the field, RBM Mary is coming into the pits now. The race leader pitting from the lead indeed. Not sure where she'll rejoin. Ham Newton coming in as well. Both of them finally deciding that the softs aren't worth carrying any further into this Grand Prix. So Aus Formula will now inherit the lead of the race, as well as FRA Vivid. Those two, again, are the only two drivers that have stuck to the standard medium to soft strategy compared to the other three that started on the mediums, who have already pitted for one reason or another. Meanwhile, Pirandi and Hoopalicious, they're actually very close to Aus and Vivid already, so that could be a battle, because I can't imagine that the Renault and the Ferrari are going to pit for another 6 or 7 laps. That's just how their strategy is, so yeah, we'll see. Hoopalicious has just set the fastest lap of the race despite being stuck behind Pirandi. So they are moving and they are catching. Chandler, meanwhile, is actually dropping back now. He dropped 8/10 to to the net top 2 in that last lap. So maybe he's just not getting the medium tires in that optimal temperature window as easily as Ferrandi and Hoopalicious are. Ginger Horizon getting a penalty now for track limits. Let's check in on the penalties real quick that everyone has. Ginger has 3 of them already, amounting to 9 seconds. That's not going to help him in his battle with Boss Cookie. And it's certainly not going to help him if he wants to have a go at B-Dunk, who only has 3 seconds. And the net top 3, Ferrandi, Hoopalicious, and Chandler, none of them have any blemishes on their record so far.
12 laps into this competition, Chandler Seda in the 5th position. You mentioned he's struggling on that pace a bit. We'll keep an eye. Hoopalicious sitting in 4th has closed the gap ever so slightly. Flanders, I'm wildly interested in how Hoopalicious is able to just keep the gap to exactly between 0.4 and 0.6 of a second as Ferrandi locks up into the final section. Now, as a driver, would you put yourself in that position where you want to chase down and pressure the leaders on those worn tires, or do you want to let them burn themselves out? We're just about almost to the halfway point in this race. Anything's still possible.
Well, at this level, Rick, I think these drivers are too smart to burn themselves out. If they're left to their own devices, they're going to manage everything really, really well. So you really got to get up in their mirrors to pressure them into a mistake. If you do nothing, they'll just keep doing their own thing. And you don't want them to do that, because their own thing means going very fast, probably faster than you. Matt NSC in the chat saying Hoopalicious is a beast. Looks like it right now. He's been pressuring the leader the entire race, but can he get past? It seems like it really is a battle among equals right now. Hoopalicious, of course, gaining time on the straights with DRS, but losing a bit, getting washed out wide slightly by the dirty air in the more technical sections. So the fact that he can't keep it between 4 and 0.6, as you mentioned, is really just down to him having completely equal pace at this point, as Ham Newton gets another time penalty for warnings. But now Ferrandi has DRS as well from FRA Vivid. The Renault has caught up to the Ferrari just that much more quickly, and it might give him a safe card against Hoopalicious. Yeah, that definitely saved it, but Hoopalicious has passed. Ferrandi went too deep into turn 12, and he has lost the net race lead to the Red Bull. Now the question is, can Ferrandi get himself together and do the exact same thing that Hoopalicious has been doing to him all race? That is the question. I was about to say Vivid, Ferrandi getting DRS on Vivid saved him on that straight, considering how close Hoop was, but then he threw it all away with that, by outbreaking himself, really.
14 laps into this race, and you saw that the Renault of Ferrandi had the lockup penalty. Now he's going to have a greater tow down this straight, so the onus is now on the Renault. But look at the Ferrari just seemingly giving up the position in quite a classic fashion. Hoopalicious now back onto the second step of the podium, just 14 laps in, but again, Oz Formula up ahead with 13 laps of wear as the display shows, and FRA Vivid back to 4th. Flanders, Boss Cookie getting a 3-second penalty in the 8th position now, so one of the Red Bulls incurring more time added on to the end of the race. Meanwhile, the points leader, go ahead.
And I think it was a really smart move there for Vivid to move over, because let's look at the facts here. He's got almost no ERS left. His tires are 10 laps older than Hoop and Ferrandi, and they're going to get the position from you anyway when you pit, so it's better to just keep in your own air and try and lap the best you can. I can see lockups from him all over the track, so it's clear that he is feeling the effects of that tire wear. I expect him to come in just a few laps. Meanwhile, Oz Formula is going to be the next to feel that exact same pressure from Hoop and Ferrandi, except instead of his teammate appearing first in his mirrors, as he probably would have liked, it's going to be Hoopalicious leading the charge against the older medium-tired Oz Formula. Currently, Hoopalicious is indeed the meat in a French sandwich.
The two Renaults first and third, and that Austrian Red Bull right in the middle of that Renault sandwich. Now on to 15 of 27 laps as GSRX gets a 3-second time penalty. Ferrandi now 1 second behind Hoop. When the roles were reversed, Hoop was able to stay half a second behind that secondary Renault. So the 21 of Oz Formula now a mirror full of Red Bull, and Oz Formula is on the back foot, about to be overtaken for first.
Indeed, Oz Formula didn't move over on the pit straight like Vivid did. He thinks that'll lose him more time than just letting them by organically, and I think he's made a really good decision there. But no, he's not backing out of the move. He's fighting back against Hoopalicious, and that's just going to lose him time. But no, he took the normal racing line through turn 6, so I think he did make the right decision there. Put up a teeny bit of a fight, but not too much. And now I suspect the fight against Ferrandi might be even easier, because that can put team orders into effect. Ferrandi will probably be telling his teammate in an Xbox party to make the move as easy as possible because he's got a race to try and win here. Vivid getting a time penalty, and Ferrandi actually falling back slightly from Hoopalicious. There's 1.2 seconds separating them right now. You can see that his teammate is filling the space where Ferrandi would normally be compared to Hoopalicious. He's got to get past him very quickly, or he's going to lose even more time, and that could give the race win to Hoopalicious on a silver. Separate Vivid further back. Seemed like a pretty easy move on the pit straight. Ginger Horizon and B-Dunk are going at it as well. Ginger, I said earlier, his penalties aren't going to help him if he tries to get after B-Dunk, but he's still making the move, and it looked like that went off without a hitch because neither of them have damage, and Ginger is now pulling away quite nicely. But again, the penalties are playing a factor as Ginger now has 12 seconds of penalties, so he's going to have to build a much larger gap to B-Dunk than he currently has. Can he do it? We'll have to see. Meanwhile, the swap at Renault has finally been made. Os Formula has been let by. Viral Ferrandi has been let by his teammate Os Formula, similar to the Ricardo Ocon move in real life here, where Esteban Ocon was simply on a different strategy, so he had to let his teammate by for the sake of their races. But Ferrandi's still losing a lot of time in that exchange. He's lost about a half a second to Hoopalicious. Instead of staying within 4 to 6 tenths, he's in that 7 to 9 tenth range at the moment. He really needs to reel him in if he's going to have any chance at winning this race. Going a bit wide on the exit of turn 8, I think that's going to be a track limits warning.
Ferrandi's going to need to do his best as the gap now extends to almost over a second down the straight, but now he's got tow, he's got DRS, and here comes that Renault back to that Red Bull, but he won't get within that magical half second that we've seen all race long. About to complete the 16th lap of competition, Flanders. Os Formula still out with 15 laps worth of wear on the mediums, as is FRA Vivid, still in the 5th position in that number 81 Scuderia Ferrari, but these drivers really going the distance on these tires.
Well, of course they have to, because everyone else who already pitted on the traditional strategy is going 16, 17, 18 laps on the mediums. So the people who start on mediums, like Vivid and Os Formula, really have to do the same, because that is the reverse of what their rivals are doing, and that's what they're gambling on working. And Os Formula is into the pits, so he's going to stretch the softs for 11 laps. That's probably a realistic goal, considering he's on lower fuel than the people who started the race on softs during their stints. And where is he going to rejoin the track? Looks like it's going to be behind Ham Newton. So he's going to come out in the final points-paying position, ahead of FRA Vivid, but behind Ham Newton. So he's got a huge tire advantage now, but how much can he use it? That's the question. What kind of raw pace will Os Formula have? How far can he get up the field? I think Boss Cookie is as high as he can get in 6th place. B-Dunk's 7 seconds out of Boss Cookie at the moment, so going any farther than P6 might be a tall order, even on the softs. But we'll monitor that for his progress as it continues to pop up. Ferrandi, meanwhile, gaining a couple of tenths back on Hoopalicious. The gap's down from 8 to 7 tenths, and now 6 tenths. Into that 6-tenth window, now less than 6 tenths briefly into turn 12. It looks like he is getting back within that range where he needs to be in. Will he get close enough for an overtake? We will find out. Ferrandi using a lot of curb on the exit of turn 13. That is not a popular strategy by some others, but it seems to be working for him here. It means he can perhaps get on the throttle a bit earlier because he's doing less turning to avoid the curbs. Sector 2, there's a spinner. It's Alpha Tauri. I think it's GSR-Ax. Yes, it is. GSR-Ax always seems to be joking about how he crashes during Tier 1 races, and, well, he's being accurate. At the very least, he has indeed had a bit of a spin, and the hard-shod AlphaTauri is not going to be helped by that at all. He currently sits in 14th place, quite a ways behind Master Berserk in 13th. Actually, Master Berserk, speaking of him, he is right behind Meanfern in the AlphaTauri, so could have a battle on our hands for P12.
Right there, Flanders.
Around the final corner.
It's something that Meanfern shouldn't necessarily be too stressed over, considering that Master Berserk does have some penalties coming to him as GSR-Ax picks up another 5-second penalty for corner cutting. Meanwhile, at the front, the Renault of Ferrandi has closed the gap to within half a second to Hoopalicious, Flanders. So with another 3-second time penalty going to GSR-Ax. So
what is Ax doing?
And a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and that's actually going to be the DNF for the Williams. So that's all she wrote for the 14th place car. BRL Williams will overtake him for position. I was thinking of that Renault Flanders. Pirandi now down to 4 tenths, just inside 5 tenths now, going through this final sector. What does a driver do to just dial up the pressure, to force the mistake, and really so the driver ahead can feel the breath on the back of their neck?
He really has to do the exact same thing that worked so well for Hoopalicious. Just get as close as possible, breathe down his neck, force him to go defensive into corners, force him to lock up. Just make him feel afraid. The closer you are, the more afraid they will be. And there's a car going slowly. It looks like Axe's AI has insisted on leaving the pits before it sputters to a halt. On the bright side, it is ghosted because it is a lap car, so it won't affect anything going on at the front. It should be noted as well that New Zealand Ryan got past Boss Cookie and Mary while we were talking about the battle at the front, and the Mercedes seems to be pulling away ever so slightly from Boss Cookie. So can he chase after the top 5? We'll have to see. Aus Formula sets the fastest lap of the race on his brand new soft tires. He's already close to within 2 seconds of ERS Ham Newton. So that gap's certainly going down, 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 down. And he's also increasing the gap to FRA Vivid behind him, so Vivid perhaps not having the same ultimate pace. The gap between them was a little over 4 seconds when they exited the pit lane, but now it's up to 5.6. Can Vivid claw back? Can Vivid claw anything back? It might just be that he's preserving his tires, who knows, but I guess all will be revealed towards the end. Meanwhile, Mary is now pressuring Boss Cookie for P7. Less than 4 tenths behind him through the middle sector, following super closely in the wake of the car in front, and he goes wide. Boss Cookie goes off the track there at the exit of turn 9. And onto the back straight. He's not looking very confident in his tires at all. He keeps track extending like a madman. And this is going to give Mary the exact opportunity she needs to sneak up the inside into turn number 12. This is an excellent camera angle for her, and the job is done cleanly. I don't think Boss Cookie has the grip at this point in time to really come back at her. So that is a solid move. Meanwhile, Aus Formula has gained a second on ERS Ham Newton this lap. In the first 2 sectors alone, he is really, really ranging him up. And now within DRS range. Although he doesn't have that much ERS left. Ham Newton, true to his name, is saving a bit of battery, about half of it, to defend from the charging Renault. So that battle might not be cut and dry, done, after turn 2. We'll have to see. Riding on board with Aus Formula as he approaches the Williams.
Now
Ham Newton going slightly defensive.
Ham Newton going defensive indeed. Now less than 8 laps to go, and the soft tires proving that they are worth it now in these final 7 1/2 circuits. The lead now cut down to half a second, but battles all over this racetrack. Flanders, even drivers like Mary, Ryan, B-Dunk still well in the thick of it. B-Dunk catching a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, and that's going to be the make or break factor in this race. Flanders, the leaders and the top 3 really going through this race incident free, but look at those black and white flags down the table. It is immense.
Indeed, it looks like Ginger Horizon could be in real trouble because New Zealand Ryan is gaining on him and B-Dunk. B-Dunk is already technically ahead of Horizon on penalties, and Ryan is looking good enough to get within that 9-second window that he needs, since he has 9 seconds fewer penalties than Ginger himself. I think it's another penalty, 15 seconds worth now. Just as I say that, he digs himself an even deeper hole, and now, as it stands, he'll lose positions to Mary and Boss Cookie as well. What is he doing? He just can't seem to really get his tires hooked up to stint or something, because he keeps sliding off the track somewhere. Really not sure where.
Less than 7.
Either way, Mary.
Apologies.
Mary now within a second of New Zealand Ryan. Mary now seeming to have the pace, actually. Ryan backing off slightly after he passed Boss Cookie and Mary is looking for a way around. Into turn 2, it's not going to happen. She's too far back. Pirandi and Hoopalicious thundering through the middle sector at the moment. Less than half a second separate them. And go ahead, Rick.
I was going to say, with less than 7 laps to go, Flanders, those soft tires are now, they've got tire, they've got temp. You keep mentioning Aus Formula turning the pressure up to Boss Cookie. Mary holding her own as well behind the Kiwi Ryan, although Ryan does find himself 5.7 seconds back of 5th. He's still closing the gap bit by bit. looking at all these drivers, it's impressive how they're hanging on to these tires. We're coming to the final 6 circuits of this race. Still anybody's race, and the gap at the front now less than 4 tenths.
Indeed, Pirandi having a huge lockup actually in the turn number 12, as you saw on your screen, and he is really pushing, and funnily enough, right as you mentioned holding on to tires, you see the Renault in second place having an absolute ton of lockups, trying to push the boundaries of his car as much as possible. He's up to 6 tenths now behind Hoopalicious. Hoop seeming very strong in the third sector all race, really, and that's making him a lot less vulnerable on that front straightaway. And sure enough, Pirandi's not going to be anywhere near close enough for a move. Well, 7 tenths behind New Zealand Ryan's. Still turning the wick up on the Mercedes, although not quite enough for an overtake yet. Battle for 6th place is far from a closed case, but the peak of battling for that is yet to come. Williams gets a 3-second time penalty at the very back, although it doesn't matter too much. Williams actually about to get lapped by the leaders. He'll be the only car on track to be a lap down. And Aus Formula, I really wasn't expecting this, but Aus Formula has ranged up to the back of Boss Cookie like an absolute boss. This is going to be a really tasty battle in the middle sector. Is Aus Formula going to wait? Is his tire advantage big enough to make a move before the back straight? That is the big question for the rest of this lap, really. He's so aggressive.
Dialing up that pressure. I was going to say the same thing. He's being very aggressive, but for good reason. He's on the soft tire. He's got 5.5 laps less wear, and now
he goes wide. Boss Cookie just completely misses the apex. Look at that. Aus Formula is going to get the position now, surely, with all the momentum in the world. And DRS, and there it is. Not even going to the braking zone.
Easy as peach pie headed into the final 16-17 section. That puts Aus Formula into P8. Now 7 tenths up ahead is RBM Mary, who's chasing down New Zealand Ryan. Mary just less than a second behind the black Mercedes, and B-Dunk rounding out the top 5 in the second Papaya McLaren, teammate to RBM Mary. Going up the ladder one more time, Flanders Hoopalicious extending that lead to 8 tenths of a second with less than 5 circuits remaining.
Indeed, Pirandi not looking like he has quite the raw pace that Hoopalicious did when he was behind the Brazilian. So, yeah, this is looking like a bit of a closed book unless Hoopalicious makes the same kinds of mistakes that his teammate Boss Cookie's doing further back, just completely missing apexes, having too much of a lockup, and heavy braking zone. Pirandi doesn't look like he controls his own destiny anymore. It's all about what Hoop does right or wrong. That might not be the case, however, for RBM Mary, who's still ranging up right on the back of New Zealand Ryan. Ryan keeping her at arm's length, but Mary seems to be gaining just bit by bit, a few hundredths here and there, to climb further up the ladder. And FRA Vivid, on the second runner on the soft tire, we mentioned how much Aus Formula was gapping them at the start of the stint, but Vivid now coming into his own, and is within DRS range of Ham Newton, looking to knock him out of the points. And if Ham Newton's knocked out of the points, I can't really see a way for him to get back into the points because the tire advantage of the cars ahead is just too great. Vivid's not going to make the move on the back straight. He's too far behind at the moment, but he's gaining hand over fist. Both of them locking up a bit into turn number 12, but neither of them suffering much for it. Vivid less than 4 tenths behind the Williams, and he's almost into the back of him. Look at that. I legitimately thought that was a collision for a moment there. The camera angle threw it all up in the air, but no, there was thankfully no contact. Vivid is still continuing his pursuit. Well, that was a very dicey moment.
Dicey indeed now with less than 4 laps remaining. Hoop leading and slowly but surely extending the gap now to 7 tenths, headed into this slow 90-degree right-hander.
Vivid's making a move. Hold on a minute. Into turn 2, under braking. Ooh, they almost make contact. Ham Newton solidly surrenders the position, and that's Vivid into the points. Go right ahead, Rick.
No, not at all. Just admiring the battle for the lead. Chandler Seta falling well off, and Seta now looking to hold on to the final podium position in the number 14 Alpha. But meanwhile, Ginger Horizon in the Williams sitting in 4th could be in prime position if the penalties continue to add up. However, no penalties for that Alpha, and it really is Ginger's 4th place to lose. Moving back on down the table, drivers like Mary and Ryan still nose to tail, just a bit away from each other. This is going to be a fun battle in the final 3 and so laps.
Indeed, especially since Mary and Ryan only have 1 3-second penalty apiece. So it is truly an even battle. No pesky penalties to play a role in the result here. And Mary's still closing down ever so slightly on the Mercedes. Gap's down from 8 tenths to 7 tenths, now to 6 tenths and then 5. But is it enough to make a move on the pit straight for this next lap? She's only got a few more opportunities during this race. The lap's really ticking down now as we're on the 3rd to last lap in this race for them. Ryan and Mary seem to have roughly equivalent battery levels, hovering between 10 and 20% most of the time, but Mary's going for it with the battery. She can't quite get close enough. She drained almost her entire battery on the pit straight, but wasn't enough to get close, and it stays 6th and 7th, Ryan and Mary.
BRL with
down to 3 tenths.
Down to 3 tenths indeed, and getting just a bit closer. Mary also with 4 laps of wear fewer. She's going to use that advantage as she can. BRL Williams now onto the soft tires. It looks like he's going to be going for fastest lap and all the bonuses that come with that. A couple other drivers picking up more penalties. Flanders, so many penalties out on this racetrack. It almost seems like Meanfern, sitting down in 13th on the hard tire, has been playing the slow and steady, wins the positions, not necessarily the race, but a good advantage to having a clean race as opposed to a penalty-filled one every single time.
Indeed, and FRA Vivid is looking like his race is going to terminate in 9th place rather than 8th because he's got 6 seconds of penalties fewer compared to Boss Cookie ahead of him. So he doesn't even have to make this move here despite the tire advantage. He can just cruise on in the back of him and doesn't really have to push. Meanwhile, further ahead in the battle between Mary and Ryan, Mary most certainly has to push if she wants that position from Ryan. Ryan, I'm not sure how many warnings the two of them have. I'm not sure how careful they have to be on the track limits respectively. But they're clearly being flat out at the moment. Mary's going to get DRS again down the pit straight. Is she close enough this time to really make a move on Ryan? I don't think she is. Ryan, again, just strong in all the right places. And Mary doesn't seem to have enough battery to really attack enough to take the position away decisively. Vivid, meanwhile, going into turn 2, making the move on Boss Cookie. Big lock up there, but doing the exact same thing that they did to Ham Newton earlier on. Just cleaning him up in turn number 2. So the Ferrari is into 9th place on track as well as in effect. Boss Cookie track extending again off of turn 5. He just seems to have no grip left in those mediums on the Red Bull. Perhaps not doing enough tire saving in the middle stages.
Speaking of having to be strong, Flanders, look at the battle for the lead now, down to 1/10, going through 16-17. Hoopalicious leading Pirandi now through the slow section. They're going to have one more circuit around this 3.6-mile Sochi Autodrome.
Look at that.
Unbelievable battle for the lead.
I have no idea how Pirandi has suddenly found over half a second and is right back up the gearbox of Hoopalicious. Clearly, they've been saving something just for the final lap, their special recipe. And this is going to be the best overtaking opportunity for the entire rest of the race for Pirandi. Is he close enough? It looks like he is. How much ERS does Hoopalicious have to defend with? A decent amount, but Pirandi's got plenty to attack with as well. It's going to be up the outside into turn 2. Hoopalicious comes it off. They touch. No damage to either one, though. Hoopalicious just takes the position. BRY Williams does set the fastest lap that he was going after. But will it be stolen away by Oz Formula or Vivid on the last lap? We'll have to see. Still, Pirandi right behind Hoop into turn 5. I don't know how he's going to get past him at this point. It's going to have to be the back straight in turn 12. I'm really not sure where else he's going to have the chance. There's just not that many overtaking opportunities that you can make for yourself around here. They're all cut out for you by the design itself, by the DRS. Which is one of the things that makes this track kind of boring compared to others, but I'll complain about that another time. And Pirandi just not being smooth enough through the middle sector, and that's put him outside of striking distance on the back straight. I think he's just forfeited this race that way. Looks like it. He's not going to be anywhere near close enough, and he's back into 6 tenths behind Hoop rather than 2 tenths. It's going to have to be in the final corner. The last corner lunge is all I can hope for, but he doesn't have the tires. Look at that. His tires have fallen off quite a bit. He just couldn't get the power down out of turn 13. And that's going to be the finishing order. He's falling outside of a second now. I don't know what's happened to Pirandi's tires. Looks like he just hit the cliff. He's just hit the cliff halfway through the last lap, but Hoopalicious has had no such problem, and he's going to come across the line to win the Tier 1 Russian Grand Prix. Chandler's going to have a celebratory spin in third place. Ferrandi finishes second, Chandler third. Ginger Horizon comes across the line in fourth, but B-Dunk is going to take that position from him on penalties and bonk into Chandler's Alfa Romeo as well. Williams at the fastest lap on his last lap again. New Zealand Ryan also getting out of Ginger, but Mary not having any such luck, so it's going to be B-Dunk, Ryan, Ginger, Mary behind the podium finishers. And then Aus Formula, FRA Vivid, and Boss Cookie rounding out the top 10. And Ham, Newton, Master Berserk, Needfern, and BRO Williams all finished the race, but none of them with any points to show for it. And our retirements today, GSR Axe, Deer Hunter, Neymar, and Fan. A little gnarly in chat saying, great commentary, guys. Thank you very much. Rick, you're a great partner, I gotta say. This has been a great experience. Driver of the day, according to the game, is Aus Formula. Certainly had an excellent run on the softs right at the end there. And now it is time for podium finisher interviews. Rick, you want to do P2 and P3 or just the winner?
We'll go ahead and interview P2 and P3.
No, do you specifically want to do P2 and P3?
Oh, okay. Sure. That sounds fine by me. I'm just still reeling from the wonderful drive from who kept the pressure all day long and struck when the iron was hot. Clinical, textbook way to win that race.
Indeed. Tweege247 in the chat. I miss every race logging in at the end. Well, it's too bad, Tweege. This was an absolutely stunning race. Grand Prix I've certainly watched. Absolutely ever. Marco Sierro, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but you've just followed the stream, so thank you very much indeed. And you've got a message for us in the chat as well. I'll read it in a sec after I invite the podium finishers. New here, hope you guys are having a good stream. Yeah, Marco, we're just finishing up now, doing podium interviews. Please stick around for that. These are the three that we'll be covering. Hoopalicious having an excellent race there, just putting the pressure on Perandi in the first stint and then capitalizing it in the mid-race and never looking back. And Chandler also having a solid race in P3, if a bit of a less dramatic one. Hoops joined the party. Please tick your box to include your audio while we wait for the other two. And Chandler is in the party as well, looks like. Alright, yeah, that's fair. Perandi. Okay. In that case, we won't have Perandi. Hoop and Chandler are good enough. Rick, why don't you start with Chandler?
Chandler in that number 14 Alfa Romeo. You had a successful race all day long, but it seems like Hoop and Perandi were just the darlings of the field today. However, congratulations on that third place finish in the Alfa. How was your race today?
I mean, it was clean, but compared to the pace I was showing in practice, it was horrible. It was a poor effort. 3, 4, 5, 10th laps slower each lap, and I don't understand what I've done wrong. Like, quali was half a second off my PB, but that's quali, and this track is horrible. There's going to be variation. Everyone, the top three all had PBs of a 0.2, and you see we were nowhere near that. So there's variation. But in the race, the fact that I couldn't hit a single fast lap, I don't know what went wrong there, but it's still another podium, so you can't really complain about that, and no penalties. So I guess in that form, was a good race, but really I'm not happy with that. That was poor pace.
As you mentioned, it was a clean race as well. It didn't look too difficult for you and the rest of the top three staying away from those penalties, and you can thank that for staying ahead. Regardless, Chandler, a wonderful, wonderful race, and congratulations on that third place finish.
Yep, thank you.
Flanders, you're with our race winner.
Indeed. First of all, just a quick shout out to Tweege247, who's just followed the stream. Thank you very much, Tweege. You are follower number 713. And now, on to our race winner, Hoopalicious. Hoop, that was an absolutely excellent drive. Can you talk us through what you did to put the pressure on Perandi and eventually get past for the lead?
I think in the first end, it was all about just sticking with him in the DRS, trying to pull away from Chandler. Because I already knew Chandler was going to be really slow on the straights, and I had the DRS, so we were easily going to pull away from him. And then that worked out well, and then came the pit stop time. Chandler undercutted us. Well, he didn't undercut us, but he did pit early, which he did gain a second off of us, so that was kind of worrying, but we still came out in front of him. So, and then once I got onto the mediums, I wanted to attack Prandi, and yeah, because I already knew I was faster than him. He was pretty slow through the corners, so yeah. And then once I was in front of him, it was all about just saving the ERS for the last lap, I guess, and that actually paid off. So yeah.
In that second part of the race when you were out front, was there any point in particular where you felt like Perandi was really going to get there and possibly get you back?
Yeah, I think I made a mistake on one of the corners that you needed to have a good exit on, so I was under pressure there. So but I think he used too much of his ERS, so and he ran out, and yeah, I think that saved me.
Yeah, you had about a 30% advantage over him in ERS on the last lap. But regardless, a great race win, great show of both offensive and defensive driving, and take that win with you, and you're dismissed now because I have nothing more for you. All right, so we're going to wrap up the stream now. That is the end of our Tier 1 race, and don't forget to tune in again next time. Our next stream is going to be on Monday with F1 Tier 3 at 7:30 Eastern Time and 12:30 a.m. on Tuesday, British time. And then F1 Tier 4, also on Monday, that's going to be at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific. And after that, we're going to have, I believe, Realistic on Thursday. That's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Time, but that's a ways in the future. So for now, we're going to sign off. And I've been Stupid Flanders 48 with Rick James, and we're going to see you on Monday. Actually, real quick, it's Fizzle. Thank you for following the stream right at the end. You're number 714, and you get a shout out for it.